In 1939, for the first time in its history, sport was televised. Baseball became the first contest to be aired live on NBC. NBC at the time was an experimental network based out of New York, and it would become the first of many networks to televise a major sport. As you can see, the camera used was nothing like the usual setup we see today. At first, the only idea was to try and pan back and forth between the pitcher and the catcher in an attempt to pick up the ball. In 1955, color was introduced into televised sports. The first contest was a tennis match at the Davis Cup between the U.S. and Australia. It was also aired by NBC. On September 29th, the first colored sports broadcast went coast to coast with a college football game between Duke University and the University of Pittsburgh. This was a breakthrough for the revolution of sports because color brought excitement to the game, and for the first time, you could experience it anywhere in the U.S. Now I present you with a short clip about Tony Verna and his breakthrough idea of instant replay during the Army-Navy game of 1963.
On the 22nd anniversary of Pearl Harbor, at the Army-Navy game in Philadelphia, television director Tony Verna turned a routine football telecast into a game which will live in infamy.
On December 7th, 1963, I aired the first instant replay.
In the early 1960s, college and pro football telecasts were devoid of the viewing enhancements we now take for granted. And since instant replay had yet to be invented, viewers could see what happened on a play, but they couldn't see why it happened.
So I'd say to cameramen like Joe Sidlaw, I'd say, Joe, what happened to that receiver? He says, oh, he tripped at the line, he was checked or something. And I said, wouldn't it be great if I could see what happened? But it didn't matter later, it had to be instant, right after the play.
Executing the first instant replay was a logistical nightmare, beginning with the size of the videotape machine needed.
They were the size of 2 Frigidaires. And it came with a tape that had I Love Lucy on it, and so if the tape didn't record properly, you would get Lucy on the air. I mean, you had to be careful, because this was 4 years before there was a Super Bowl. This is the biggest game, and if you fool with the Army-Navy game and mess that up, that was the end of your career.
Verna had hoped Navy quarterback Roger Staubach would be featured with the first instant replay. Instead, the unlikely hero became Army quarterback Raleigh Stitchway. It was broadcaster Lindsey Nelson's duty to sound the warning sirens.
And I say, this is it, Lindsey, go. And Lindsey looks at the monitor and says, ladies and gentlemen, Army has not scored again. Now, if you said that today, they'd throw a net on you and take you out of the booth and put you in a booby hatch.
The tape from that 1963 game never survived, but instant replay did. In fact, it thrived. And by the 1967 NFL Championship, instant replay had invaded the locker room.
Coach, we're going to have a play right now. You can see it on this monitor. I hope I can see it. This is slow motion now as Jerry Kramer makes a key block for Bart Starr on this quarterback sneak for the winning touchdown.
Yes.
A super defensive play, but as you will see, Jerry Kramer blows him out of there.
Yeah, that's a fine block, and there's a...
Today, when you watch a game, you couldn't think of watching without the instant replay. It goes hand in hand.
In 1965, a couple years after replay was brought into sports, graphics were presented on screen for the first time. The letters and numbers that relayed the score to viewers was created by a character generator that overlaid the score over the live footage. During the 1975 World Series, technology improved enough to where stats could be updated during the course of the game. In 2001, Fox introduced the famous Fox Box. Fox was the first to condense everything and place game statistics into a small box that never leaves the screen. It became an iconic figure for Fox Sports, and soon after, all sports broadcasts around the world would have something similar to this idea. In today's world, it's hard to imagine sports without it. Sports and broadcasting have evolved so much over the past 75 years and continue to grow every year. We continue to strive toward closer shots and better picture to the point where watching games on television will make you feel like you're actually there in real life. With the advancements of high definition, non-pixelated slow motion, and even 3D televisions, who knows where we will be 20 years from now. I believe the evolution of television is directly related with many things that we discussed this semester. In particular, the Pete Rozelle article. Rozelle served as commissioner from 1960 to 1989 and is arguably the most innovative NFL commissioner in history. He is known for inventing Monday Night Football and for developing the Super Bowl and transforming it into a premier television event. He is most famous for making network television the largest revenue source for the NFL and is responsible for ending the system of NFL teams being allowed to make their own television deals and making it so the highest bidder would receive the league's television rights. Because of Pete Rozelle and his television endeavors, the NFL's image was cultivated and a new way of seeing sports was shaped into what it is today.